is finding out or discovering all of the assets that you have because you can't protect what you don't know exists.
Do that again. Your audio is sort of dropping out there. Get your microphone close. Say that again.
Oh, I said discovering or finding out what assets you have because you can't protect what you don't know exists.
The- It's happening to him. Oh, Josh, his audio is dropping out. Well, discovering your assets was the advice. All right, give me some bad advice, Sean.
Bad advice. Assume everybody is following the standards you built, and your networks are always effectively segmented like they should be.
Oh, well, of course. Yes. All right, give me some worse advice, Joel.
Some worse advice is assume everything is modern and patched, and you don't need to deal with legacy technology.
All right. That seems like bad advice. All right. Do me a favor, Joel. Get that microphone as close to you as possible. You are dropping in and out like crazy.
Okay.
Let's start this show.
Get ready. It's Super Cyber Friday.
Welcome, everybody, to Super Cyber Friday. Today's topic is hacking critical infrastructure, an hour of critical thinking about thoughtful modernization for the things that simply cannot fail, because some people work in industries like that. All right, our guests today are Sean Marion, who's the VP and CSO over at Excel Energy, and also Joel Burleson Davis, who's the CTO at Improvata. Hey, guess what? Improvata, they're our wonderful sponsor for today. We are thrilled to have them on board. Thank you very much, Improvata, for sponsoring this very episode. All right, lots of ways to participate. We are not playing Best Bad Idea anymore, but we are playing the 10% Better Tip. So we have our chat room. We have the how to improve critical infrastructure security. Just do hashtag 10P for the 10% Better Tip. You can join us on video by Bring Me On. Ask a question of our guest. You'll see there is a little question bubble, like a little bubble with a Q in it. The little icon, click on that, ask your question, or even vote for your favorite question as well. All right, here's our schedule. We did our good advice, bad advice, worse advice. You can give us your 10% better tips. We are going to play two games today. We're going to the public interest and security company or Star Wars character. We've played it before. We have a whole brand new round. And in both of these games, we will be playing it on the Kahoot platform. So we will have an ultimate winner here as well. And I should also mention that for the security company or Star Wars character, the person who wins, if you live in the United States, you get an awesome CISO Series fleece. If you already have one, or you live outside of the United States, we will send you an Amazon gift card. Last questions and answers, and then we will do our meetup. If you have not participated in our post show meetup, they're a lot of fun. We get to have face to face time virtually with your friends. Um, and also, I also want to mention that if you look at the top of your screen, we have a little thing here. It says where you can register now in the upper right, like above the chat block. Hacking Security Theater. That is our event that's going to be happening next Friday, September 26th, an hour of critical thinking about compliance checkboxes that don't actually improve security. And sometimes it's not even just a checkbox, it literally something visual for you to think that you have a better and more secure environment. Anyways, you can register there if you'd like, or I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to throw it on the screen, full screen. Go ahead, lower left corner. You're going to click the lower left corner. It'll open up another window. You can register for next week's event while still being in this event. All right. All right. Let us go on with the show as I, whoops, close this. Oh, he closed it for me. Thank you so much, Josh. All right. Let's get to our very first question at hand. And it has to do with critical infrastructure is, uh, what are some early warning signs? I'm going to start with you, Sean, that critical infrastructure you are have unacceptable risks. Or let's go to the point I was talking about, like certain we sometimes work in environments that things can't fail because like most of us don't work in environments like that where things can fail. It kind of sucks. You lose some money. You get maybe make an angry customer. But when you're dealing with critical infrastructure, it's a completely different ball game. So there might be elements of that that can fail, but there are certain parts that can. So, sort of walk me through that and give us a little background of what you've done in critical infrastructure to sort of speak to this.
Yeah. So when I think of critical infrastructure, I'm thinking of OT primarily. I mean, there's IT systems too, but OT is really what I think I'm for purposes of this.
Right.
And I've been dealing with OT for a few days. I mean, I spent majority of my career at Honeywell that makes OT and uses OT, and then now I work at. I've had a couple of roles since, but now I work at Excel, who uses a lot of that to run what we have.
Mhm.
It's your point is spot on, right? It's about managing that risk, which really isn't different from on the IT side, in conceptually. So you build standards, you build policies, you do all these things, you deploy tech, you try to get that risk managed to an acceptable level without impacting, business operations. But you got to consistently test and validate that. And I think to your question, like, how do you know? I would go with kind of like where there's smoke, there's fire. If you start to see, hey, we set a certain risk threshold and people are starting to go beyond that, okay, well, what's going on? Dig it in, because you'll probably find other issues. I believe that most people don't come in to make my job harder. They don't come in to make risky decisions. They're trying to do their jobs, and sometimes they may cut a corner, or they may do
Mhm.
something I wouldn't want them to. And usually, when you find one, you'll find others. So you just got to consistently monitor and check to make sure that things aren't getting outside of the norm.
Yeah, and this kind of like it kind of follows the same pattern when we talk about configuration drift. Is that sort of maybe it's like policy drift as well?
Mm.
Yes, Joel.
Yeah, I mean, I actually want to go back to a point that Sean mentioned. Um, you know, one of those early warning signs of I don't know, right? Is to me is when someone says I don't know. When you don't have the monitoring that you need, you don't have the information that you need to get out of those systems, and you ask a question about critical infrastructure. Who
Okay,
accessed
Joel,
this
I'm going to
last?
pause you for a second. There is something failing on your microphone.
All
Do me
right.
a favor. Can you try to unplug it and just go off it, like if you have a webcam microphone or something? Because that is sadly failing right now. This microphone. I don't know what's happening, but it's failing. See if you can switch to a different, because your audio is dipping in and out like crazy. We sort of can kind of hear you. And my apologies to you, to everyone on this, because this was not happening when we were in the green room just testing moments ago. This is like literally a problem that just decided to introduce itself right now. So, Joel, can you come back on camera? Or are you having problems with that? Oh, he's going to refresh. You know what? We're going to go on without Joel until he comes back. He will come back. He knows how to come back as well. Um, so but let's just talk about this whole issue, because critical infrastructure is a completely different way of looking at risk. Oh, Joel, you're back. Great.
Yeah, when things can't fail, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Okay.
much
When
better.
things can't fail. All right. And center yourself on the camera a little bit. You see how you're
Oh
sort
yeah.
of side. All right.
Sorry.
Now your audio actually sounds fine, and you're, I guess, on a webcam
we're
microphone.
back
Yes.
to where we're back to where we started.
Okay, cool. So yeah, well, the thing I was actually just about to say to Josh, he said it's really interesting, the critical infrastructure, because we talk about risk, but we don't talk about not most of the time, because we're talking about anything but infrastructure or anything. We just talk about it as sort of like a business risk, like, oh, this would kind of suck, or this could be really damaging the business, but not like, you know, you talk to people who work in critical infrastructure or in airlines, like there's certain things that just cannot happen. How does the risk conversation change, like in terms of management? It's so different at that point when it's like it just can't happen. So where do you go from there when you're having those kinds of discussions?
Yeah, I feel like the first place that you start with those, and I think any of these critical infrastructure places start is, is there a safety issue? Is it a solvable safety issue? And if the answer is no, then like you have to you can't proceed, you can't go forward with anything. You have to solve that first. That is the number one sort of broad filtering gate for any decision, any change, any activity, right? Are there safety concerns, from the operational safety or like human life safety? And we have to make sure all of those are solved before we can move forward on any like technology, whatever it is. Like that has to be the first broad filter.
All right, I hate to say this. We now know it's not your microphone because you were dipping in and out with your audio. It is something a little bizarre. Let us give this. What kind of browser are you using, Joel?
Chrome.
You are using Chrome. Ugh.
Mm.
Can we try another browser? Jump on
Yeah,
another
I'll
browser.
switch. I'll be
Switch
back in 1 minute.
switch browser. Come back, and we'll try it through another browser as well. Um, all right, Sean. Let's go back. Oh, we have questions that have come in, which is very good. And so from a Mansud, what does Sean? Oh, we're going to skip that one from Murad. How do you balance the need for operational continuity with implementing robust security controls in legacy OT systems? Here, I'm putting this on the screen right now. This is pretty much the most standard question you can get at this point. I mean, this is really what you're dealing with because in most cases, this is exactly the problem, right, Sean? You've got
Yeah.
antiquated system and you're slapping modern technology on top of it.
Yeah, the word that jumps out at me there that I think is the challenging part is the word robust. To your point, you've got some systems that some can't even be patched, right? It's
Mhm.
just there's no mechanism to do it. Some of them can't log. So you can't get telemetry off these things, and they're we have to deal with it. There's nothing we can do about it. So when I say implementing like operational security and security controls, I would probably say I wouldn't use the term robust. I would say as good as we can get. And a lot of that's going to be on the perimeter. There's some great tech out there that's starting to kind of bridge that gap, but again, you've got control systems that, and I know a lot of you know this, that are 10, 20, 30 years old, and they work great and they run consistently, but they were created without security in mind. And again, I know you all know that, so I just wouldn't use the term robust. I would say good enough.
Okay, I think that's a good point. I mean, that's a reality of what we all have to kind of deal with, don't we now?
Yeah.
Um, Wait, by the way, our guest will be back in just a second. Um, he was he was never likely to have the same problem when he comes back in. He needs to turn off the noise suppression first, could cause a major echo. All right, we're gonna find out. Um, Still be online, and we're just getting some answers here uh, from my sound guy as to what the heck was going on here with the audio. It sounds like he had noise suppression on, and he is coming. Here he is. Move to the stage. Let's see
While he
if
does
he
that, for
gets.
the record, I'm super pleased. He knows that's Amari Stoudemire. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and a huge Suns
Whoops!
fan.
Ah,
So
I moved into backstage. I did not mean to do that. Move to stage. Here we go. Okay, Joel, you may
Yeah.
have noise. You may have noise suppression on. Go ahead and go ahead and talk.
Okay, I'm here.
Keep talking.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this works. Switch browser. We'll
And
see if
actually, you
Edge is
sound
any-
fine now. You actually sound fine now. Okay,
Okay.
cool.
So maybe Edge is the
All right.
right call.
My apologies. I'm going to put the question that Murad had just asked moments ago. How do you balance the need for operational continuity with implementing robust security controls in legacy operational technology systems? This is like as standard as you get. I was just saying this to Sean. I want you to answer the same question.
I mean, my answer to that question is almost always that you don't. You have to do both, right? This isn't a balance whether or not you let operations happen, or security happen. It's like this is one of the problems with critical infrastructure. You have to do both, right? You have to enable sort of operational efficiency and streamline that, and you have to respond to the risk environment, right? You have to solve for both of those lines. There's no balance. Often you have to almost be sort of ignore this dynamic of you have to make trade-offs. You sort of have to exhaust every option you have to not make trade-offs, right? So often when people talk about balance, they mean like, what do you compromise when you do that? And to me, for critical infrastructure, often it's not. You have to get creative and you have to solve for both as best as possible.
All right. So this next question brings up this very, very issue. And this comes from SAH, whoever SAH is, if you want to give us your full name. If you can't, he is from, can't even see, the Excelixis, I think. God, the font on this is like 2 point. If you can't upgrade your critical infrastructure, an extremely common problem,
Mhm.
like way more common, like at the 90 to 98% level, do you ensure they run in secure enclaves, segregated, while redundant modern system is deployed and runs in parallel for a period of time? If you can do that, but usually it's just a secure enclave of some sort. That's what I hear. Like, how realistic is this? How much of a pain in the ass is something like this? Like, what I mean, I've heard this a lot. How doable and does it work? And what are the variations we've seen, Joel?
So I think this is a real dynamic, and the answer is yeah, you need to do that, and that is the right answer because often, for critical infrastructure, Particularly Sean mentioned OT. Um, it may not be upgradable, and it has a really long lifespan, right? It's still doing its job for what it needs to do. Whether it's a pump, whether it's an MRI machine, um, and so it still has its utility, right? Its primary use or utility, and so the business is going to need to keep operating it. And so, this is a real problem people are going to have to deal with. There's capital investment cycles when you do sort of refresh, you're able to refresh hardware. And so it is sort of having a program or a practice around, when you have legacy infrastructure or pieces run into a scenario where they're not upgradable, but their primary utility is still there and the business is going to continue to operate them. Yeah, the secure enclave, segregated systems, and then really plan out when you get to, put a timestamp on that. It's like, when is this going to end though? Like, when are we going to move to that new system if you have that chance?
Sean, may I ask, have you experienced this very thing where you had to actually segregate some antiquated equipment?
Oh, that's like a day in the life of, right?
Like, but
Yeah.
am I right? That's the 95 to 98% of the case kind
Oh
of
yeah,
situation?
I would put it at the high end there, you know.
Yeah.
If we think about risk, outside of security risk, you got financial risk, right? And
Mhm.
businesses don't operate as charities unless they are a legit charity. They
Right.
got to make money. And so, the CISO in my case isn't always going to be the one that's making these financial decisions. I can influence, I can encourage those type of things, but they may already have a redundant system they put in that's also 20 years old, right? But it runs and it works, and there is no desire to upgrade, to invest. Again, they will sweat these assets as long as they can, and I completely understand why. So my options are limited at that point. And to your point, David, then it's like, well, now we've got to segregate as best we can. Understanding even then there may need to be some little bit of connectivity for various reasons. So back to my first point of I think it was worse was like, well, then we got to confirm that it's segregated as we agreed to, and we don't drift from that so we can protect that infrastructure.
By the way, I'm very amused. Andrew Aiken, who's one of our regulars here, I think is highly disappointed that we have abandoned the bad idea. By the way, he was a highly frequent winner. And so now he's starting to push his 10% better tips as act, which are actually bad ideas, and he's pushing them through the 10% better tip suggestion. Where was this one? Here. Yeah, here. I'm just going to show this on stage. Replace passwords with a virtual 20-sided die, which we've gotten the Dungeons and Dragons reference a bazillion times.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Andrew. We are retiring this for now. He wants it so bad. Hey, but what's more important right now is our first game.
Do you know what others are thinking? On the public interest.
All right, what I need everyone to do is we need to launch the game. And if you look at the icons that are right next to the chat window, there's an icon that looks like a game controller, like an old Nintendo game controller. And we are actually, you got the wrong screen there. Put the Kahoot game up. Showing our production process, actually. Josh is right now. He will have a game up, game, and there will be a game pin for Kahoot, and we are all going to play it as well. Now, for those of you who don't know Kahoot, you essentially will have essentially a series of options to answer, and then you are graded not just on your correct answer, but the speed the correct answer, and the fastest person with the correct answers is the one. All right. So you see 944-373. If you click the icon on the left there that looks like a game controller, you'll see the Kahoot window open up. I have not seen this. I am going to compete as well. I'm entering as well. Everybody get in, and I'm going to do a 10-second countdown before we actually start the game. So 10, you guys do it too. 9, 8. Oh, and put your nickname in here, by the way. Oh, geez, I realized I didn't do it myself. 7, 6, 5. I know there's 50 of you out there. 4. There should be a lot more. 3. Get your name in there. 2, 1, 0. Josh, start the game. Let's do this. 4 questions. All right, public interest. This is round 3. That's why you see the number on it. So we know that it's our third round of doing it. Which term has the most monthly search queries? We're going to see a few here. All right. Threat modeling, or which one do you think? Vulnerability assessment. Pick quickly. I think you only have 10 seconds to decide. Oh, already. I got the first one right. All right. More people got that one wrong. All right. By the way, if I win, good. So Aman is in the lead right now. Very good, Aman. All right. Next question. Here we go. Threat not modeling 4,400 to 2,900. This is monthly search queries on these terms.
That is surprising.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing about this game. It's surprised. Did you get the first? Did you get it right or no?
I missed it. Yeah.
Oh, IDS, RTO, IOC. Oh, I'm going IOC because I think people are mistyping AOC to refer. Oh, I got it wrong. Totally got it wrong. Sean, you're in the lead. Look at that by a lot. So you're 2 for 2, I'm assuming. Yes.
I am indeed.
You know, just so you know, very few people go 4 for 4 here. Look at that IDS. Oh my God. Wow. Way ahead. Must be a lot more acronyms for that. Which term is the most monthly search queries? All right. I picked. Oh, I blew it. How'd you do on that one, Sean?
No
You blew it.
bueno.
All right. You're not going 4 for 4. Who is Renan? I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. All right. Last one. Sean, you still could. Sean, Regina, Renan, all in content. Oh, I picked Skada.
I did too.
You did.
Same.
Yeah, there you go. We all made the stupid mistake. All right, last one. Oh, all right. I picked one. Which critical infrastructure is most popular? Energy. I did get it right. I hope you got it, Sean. Yes?
Nope, I failed.
It's your company name.
I know.
Doubted yourself.
Why'd you do that? Look at that. All right. Let's see who won. In third, Ken. Second is Kira. Number 1 is Renan Arena. All right. Renan, if you are in the US or not, send me an email. Just go to david@csoseries.com and send me your address and your jacket size if you're local. If not, just send me an email saying I won, and I will get that out to you. Congratulations there. All right, I want to get to just talking a little bit about Imprivata at this moment, Joel. We've been talking about critical infrastructure issues, and honestly, I don't know how to best explain what you guys do in this space, and I just like you to make it clear to our audience how Imprivata is involved.
Yeah, so Imprivata is an access management platform, software platform, and we tend to focus on critical infrastructure and regulated industries, really sort of focusing on that last mile of access. Like this is clinicians, this is frontline workers at factories or manufacturing sites. This is police officers and their mobile devices. It's really sort of that last mile. Sometimes the messy identity spaces, non-employees, contractors. And so it's a software cybersecurity platform focused really on the access management piece for those sorts of users.
Excellent. Well, that is a great explanation. And who are the people who come to Imprivata the most? Who are like kind of the most ideal candidates?
The most ideal candidate is anyone in sort of a regulated industry, but for the most part, it's healthcare is probably number 1. Public sector is number 2. Manufacturing is number 3.
All right, those are big ones. All right. Well, I'm making a call out to our audience. I don't know which of you are in those areas, interested in those areas, looking to be in those areas, which of the other. We're putting a poll up right now. Can we get that poll to go live? Here, I'm going to hit it, publish. Yes, there it is. There is a poll right now. Go ahead and answer that poll right there. We will make a warm introduction to the fine people at Imprivata. They're doing some cool stuff. That poll is going to be up for the entire time of this discussion, so please go in anytime. But why not just go there now, and we'll make a warm introduction to the fine people over at Imprivata. All right, we have more questions that have come in? Let me hold it. I have not marked the ones that were answered. Let me mark the ones that have been answered. Sema Same as she. My apologies, Sama. I couldn't tell from the S and the AH. All right, let's show this. Oh, this is a great question. What or which critical infrastructure is most vulnerable? For example, financially and operationally. Thoughts. This is really interesting, and I don't know how much view you have given what critical infrastructure you've seen, but I'll start with you, Joel, on this. Where, where have you seen the greatest problems? And maybe it's just you might say leaning towards healthcare because that's what you work most with, or where do you see the biggest problems?
Yeah, like it's probably the answer is probably all of them, right? It's particularly because they're capitally intensive,
Right.
and right, money is tight, margins are low. Sometimes they're publicly funded, and that becomes even harder, right? So if you talk about sort of financial risk, but yeah, we do see a lot of the dynamics in healthcare, and so it's a few of it, a little bit of it is interesting. There's a lot of different populations that need access to some really important and critical systems and
Hmm.
information, anywhere from like undocumented patients, or like undocumented citizens that are patients, to clinicians, to vendors, and um, and so they've become a really big target as well for malicious actors, because if you take a healthcare system down, we particularly saw this during the pandemic,
Sure.
they're a high likelihood to pay sort of scenario, because people are going to die otherwise, right? Like you have sick people, you have operating rooms offline, and so we really see a vulnerability there because of the type of work that like healthcare does. It's like you're messing with people in need, like sick kids, and
Hmm.
people undergoing surgery, and in really vulnerable sort of spots.
But I want to get more to the thing is like, are there certain industries that the vulnerabilities come up more than others, or this might be like a more of an apples and oranges type thing? Like, there's no way to tell.
That may be true, and it's they're going to be different risk profiles, right? Like if you think about manufacturing, which is another place that we've seen a lot of, really high risk profile, and it's what we
Mhm.
talked about earlier, right? The sort of the capital cycles mean that they're going to run, technology for a really long time, and so then you have a different sort of risk profile, especially if it's attached to the internet somehow, accidentally or on purpose. And so that does have a different sort of risk dynamics, financially and operational, than like a healthcare system, than maybe public sector.
Um, So, Sean, I want your thoughts. Is this totally an apples and orange question, or have you seen certain critical infrastructures that are just either they're in sadder shape, or it becomes more of a risk, or there's too many holes that the way they're the way they're built because the vulnerabilities, like, or it's like there's no way to tell here.
Two sides of the same coin. I mean, you've got other dynamics at play too. I mean, we'll pick on the energy industry. You could have two companies that take a very different approach to how they manage their infrastructure. One introducing more risk, maybe unknowingly, one not so much. So it really depends on,
Mhm.
I think, so many factors. It'd be hard to say like one industry or one company is more risky than the other.
Right.
The way I look at it, aside from that, would be, what could have the greater impact to life safety? And there's a couple of industries that clearly do. If we think of critical infrastructure, there's a number of kind of different verticals there, but some of them do. To your point earlier, David, they present more risk. I mean, you're talking about people could lose their lives if they don't work
Right.
right. So that's the way I would look at it.
Very good point. I do want to mention, by the way, it was just dropped a moment ago in the chat that we have an awesome demo from Improvata of their product and how it operates. You can click on it now, link, save the link, check it out later. And we're going to make that demo available in our newsletter that we drop on Sunday. So if you're part of the normal CISO series newsletter that we normally drop on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and also on Sunday, you will see that on Sunday as well. So if you'd like to actually see it, how it actually operates, check out that demo. All right, a few more questions are coming in. This one from Murad. So okay, the AI question has come up. Can AI assist with hardening security for legacy OT systems? I recently learned about a startup that is rewriting COBOL code with a security first approach. Now that's interesting. Can you actually So you wouldn't need to find a COBOL programmer, learn from the other COBOL code, write it for you. Have you seen this, Joel? Have you seen old code being rewritten by AI?
So we have seen that. I was going to say the answer is yes. AI can solve everything, right? I think that's the right answer we're supposed to give, is that yes, AI can do everything for all people. But it is a good use, right? Like when you think of what AI does, right? It sort of particularly these large language models that are out. Like if you don't have the expertise, you still have a huge sort of body of work of people that have done written COBOL, right? And so you can leverage that and build models for what a really good sort of COBOL writing should be able to done. So you can instead of, if you're running out of that human expertise and that ability, or or to augment it, like it's a great use case. Sort of augment that human expertise or lack thereof, because you have such a long, giant body of work that you can leverage to build models for.
Have you seen Sean, have you seen it? And have you actually used any AI to, in the example here, rewrite some really ancient code?
Well, I'll start with fun fact is I started out as a software developer. That's my background. And my
Did you write
first
in
language, I
COBOL?
learned COBOL. That was my first language,
There you
COBOL
go.
and natural on a mainframe. Have we seen it? We are seeing it. And I think Joel's point is good. Like there's some things that it can help, legacy knowledge, it can help, consolidate and get to the right people. I think part of the problem is we talked about infrastructure that can't be upgraded easily, and AI generally is fairly new, right? And so, do we see AI rewriting code on the OT infrastructure? Not yet, not in large demand, because a lot of times some of these systems have very, very, very basic models. But I do think there are a lot of things that still can do, right? We can do it as far as aggregating data that we're monitoring, giving advice on how to harden systems that maybe we're not aware of and we don't think can be hard. I mean, there's a ton of things that we can do, and I do think in the long term there'll be a huge value there. It's still kind of in its infancy.
All right. I like this question a lot. This is a good one. And I'm definitely throwing this to you first, Joel. How can we stress test our critical infrastructure from cascading failures? Well, I would just say, how can we stress test critical infrastructure? But the cascading failures is an interesting element to add there, such as an energy attack that triggers communication system failures. So, it is just simply red teaming, but I guess how do you how do you test it? How do you do a chaos monkey environment without literally taking down the grid in some way? Like what are the ways this can actually be done?
Yeah, it's a very interesting problem. And we talk about, especially building software and building technology, is that even synthetic test data isn't real world. And when you're talking about critical infrastructure and the sort of capital expenditure there, we don't have like a test energy grid that we can play around with to see how things work, and really evaluate that, right? So the common advice is do tabletop exercises, but those don't give you like the real sense of what would happen. Um, and so I actually don't have a really great answer for that. This is a really tough problem. You have these giant systems, like, or you think about airlines, like, what do you do? Like, how are you going to, um, you know, do an aircraft, like engine failure in an aircraft, a real one and not a simulated one? You're like, no, people could die if you test that, right? So like becomes this really sort of ethical problem, as well as, just an issue to get across in terms of like the investment and the ease to get there. So I think it's a great question, because I think that's incredibly hard to do.
Yeah.
Sean, have you like the thing is, I'm thinking, maybe there's some kind of a sandbox thing to do, but that's not a real test at all. Uh, so like, what can possibly you do? Like, it seems such a fearful thing that if we can't really test it, we don't know. You know what I mean, Sean?
Yeah. Yeah, so there are some things that we can do, and they're not ideal. None of them are ideal, right? To the
Mhm.
points that you've all said. But if I speak specifically to the energy industry, the grid itself. First of all, if you want, go YouTube and find some videos on how the grid works. It's incredibly interesting, because energy is not my background, right? I've been in multiple industries, and so when I'm coming into Excel, I'm out trying to learn everything I can about this industry. And the second you turn your light on, that energy was created like a millisecond before. That's how, and monitoring that is incredibly crazy. That said, the grid was built with a lot of redundancy in mind already, not just security. I mean, just redundancy in general. So security is just another risk that's introduced, but the outcome of being able to maintain operations was built in from the beginning. Now that said, we would keep talking. It's built on a lot of old infrastructure, but the engineers that built it were some pretty smart people. There are virtual grids that we can test on. They're not perfect,
Mhm.
but there are some things you can do to go and say, well, what would A result in B and C and so forth, and you can do some
At
testing
least,
there.
yeah, I guess at least you're seeing the chain of connections in a situation
Yeah.
like that.
Yep.
So
You
yeah,
are.
you're right. It's
I
not
think
ideal, but definitely is a good solution.
And you can
it
walk the
is.
line,
Where I
right?
think it gets challenging is when you start to do connections between different critical infrastructure. Because the question is really good. The question says an energy attack that triggers a communication systems failure. So if the grid goes down, well, communications are going down too. And
Right.
have we done that kind of testing? And I would say that one we do tabletops, but again, you can't take down the telecommunications infrastructure to see how did it work, you know?
Wait, Joel, you were about to jump in.
Oh
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I would say that it's very true, and sometimes, right, we find out what we don't know. Like I live in Austin, Texas, so we lived through what we called snowmageddon, which energy grid failed, gas grid failed, water failed. Like this was a few years ago, and sort of everything just failed. Some hospitals stayed up, which was great, but there was cascading failure. And I don't think anybody ever, I don't think, even though there's a ton of smart people, had any way to really understand how that would cascade in the way that it did. And I again go back to this. I don't know how you would really test, other than going through making these logical connections and making sure you've thought through the scenarios and you've filled gaps as you see them, at least in a virtual or a conceptual way.
By the way, I'm going to show this on stage. Hey, we have a handful, more than a handful of people that are asking for a nice introduction to our friends at Improvada. So if you would like to have a nice introduction to our friends at Improvada, why don't you go answer the poll right now? Your options are yes, and how could I say no? Answer either way. We're going to make an introduction. So go ahead and answer either way. It's going to happen. All right. I want to, this one more. We have another really fun game, but there was this really, actually, two questions that are almost identical here, but or add on to it. So, here, where is it? Where was I? I was just looking at here. Wow, by the way, thank you, audience. Great, great questions. First, just I'm going to quickly show this. Amansu, how can smaller operators with tiny budgets improve CNI OT security? But also, Lyle Jacone also added to this, I like, what would be the top 3 tactical actions you would try to improve first for an older critical infrastructure facility with limited funds available? I think, I mean, the limited funds you can add on, but I got to assume there's kind of a playbook here of, well, we've got this old equipment. Here's what we usually do. What is that? Is there a playbook, Joel? Like you kind of like the
I
3
would ask
obvious things you start with?
I would ask Sean first. Like I think this is
Okay.
a good place to start with Sean, and then I'll, I'll,
Sean?
I'll
Thanks,
pile
man.
in.
Yeah, I saw that question earlier, and I agree. It's a good question, like a really good question. And so I would start, and I did go with unlimited budget because let's be fair, if we're talking specifically in the utility side, whether water, energy, or whatever, um, like anybody, we don't have unlimited funds, and especially when we get our funds, we're heavily regulated and get it from ratepayers. There are challenges.
Right.
One thing I would say that you can do almost free, minus some travel expense, is get out, go see your operations, go to these critical infrastructure facilities, look at them, meet the people, you know?
Yeah. By the way, let me just throw in a great example of just that. Jesse Whaley, who's the CISO for Amtrak, he does that pretty regularly
But
and talks to people. He found like simple things like an engineer who said, "Oh yeah, when I have to do this procedure and I have to log in, I have to also they do an MFA, but I'm required by policy that I have to lock my phone like over there,
Mhm.
and so I have to then walk over there to go get it to do the and like simple things."
Oh
Talking to
yeah.
people like, well, that doesn't work, kind of a thing.
I,
Like those are things you only discover on an on-site visit.
oh yeah. We years ago when I was at Honeywell, we had just rolled out this global awareness campaign, posters, and it was all like, use long passwords. I forget exactly what it said, basic security awareness. And I was in outside of Beijing at one of our facilities, and they had all these posters, and we were like, "Hey, we're in China. Here's our posters." And we found it's a manufacturing facility. We found out pretty quickly that nobody there spoke English, and all these posters were in English. And that visual of like Well, duh, idiot. Like, of course, that doesn't. So the impact was muted, but it just wouldn't have sunk in had I not gone and seen it. I'll also
Mhm.
tell you too that if we go back to here in the U.S., like you start to build relationships with some of these people, and once they start to they're there to help you. Like I said before,
Ah,
they don't want to do the wrong thing, but they see something, say something, and I'll give you an example here. So I own both physical and cybersecurity, and I have for many years. And so I'm at a facility recently. I noticed a number of their cameras weren't working. Not all, but a couple. And we talked about it. Like we didn't really know where to go to get this fixed. And it's like, well, hey, here I am. Now you know me. Again, it's a very rudimentary example, but we got them fixed for it and move on. But some of that doesn't happen unless you go build that personal connection and you start to really see what goes on at the site. The last thing I'll say on, I thought about this too on when it comes to critical infrastructure. This is where like this concept of least privilege really comes in. Like you want to isolate that network as much as humanly possible, right? There's only so much you can do, but if you can get that thing isolated, your risk drops down significantly.
all right. We
Nailed it.
have another game. Oh, what are you gonna say, Joel?
I would say Sean nailed it. Those are two excellent things. It's like least privilege and walk the floor, like excellent piece of the playbook.
Right. And let me ask you, have you had a situation, Sean, where you walked the floor, made some friendships with people, communicated to them, and then they followed up with you and goes, by the way, Sean, something else came up we didn't talk about, but I want you to know this kind of a thing. Did that
Oh
ever
yeah.
like follow
Oh
up
yeah.
next thing?
Yeah. We had when I get into specifics, um, we had a site that was it's not really security related. We thought it might be. We have a site that was experiencing more technical issues, and they had just learned some kind of workarounds for this to kind of make it through. But they met me again, not really a security thing, but they met me, and I'm kind of in their eyes, I'm the most technical guy in the room, right? At least from an IT perspective. And it was a couple months later that reached out, hey, we got this weird nagging issue. It might be a security thing. It may not be. Can you please guys look into it? Looked into it. It wasn't security related. It was just an IT thing. But it's them like, hey, I know you now. I see something. I'm kind of curious. I want to ask. And that came from us doing a site visit and building that rapport.
All right, we're gonna play another game, and I just realized something. But anyways, go ahead and click the little icon at the bottom on the left where it looks like a game controller. Go ahead and click on that. We have a Kahoot pin here, and by the way, I'm going to end up giving away 2 jackets because I wasn't planning on giving one for the other one, but now I'm going to end up doing that. So the winner of this game will win a jacket, and if you're not in the U.S. or you've already won one, you get a gift card. Um, so this game you're gonna like. Actually, I won't even say what it is, or I said what it is. It's the Star Wars character or cybersecurity company. This game is tougher than you might imagine. I have not seen it. I'm competing myself with everybody as well. So get in there. I'm going to give a 10-second countdown as well. So we're going to do a 10, 9, far less people in here. The same crowd. 8, get in there. 7, 6, 5, 4. Remember to type in your full name or just your full name, just your a handle. 3, 2, 1. All right, let's start this. Let's play this. Okay. Security vendor or Star Wars character. It's going to be one or the other. Auhas. Auhas. That's it. Okay. I made my decision. You only have 10 seconds on each one of these. I've got it wrong. All right, who's in the lead right now? Andrew Aiken, who's been a champ with the by the way, no looking these up if you're playing. All right, let's look. Although there you go. Auhas cybersecurity. It so sounds like a Star Wars character. All right, Cody.
I feel like I'm going to fail all these.
Well,
They're probably trick questions.
I don't know. It's probably a security vendor because it so doesn't sound like a security vendor. No, it is a Star Wars character. There you go. That's why I'm doing the reverse psychology on that one.
I did the same
Andrew
thing.
still in the lead. All right. I'm in 16th place. There's Cody. All right. 5 seconds left. Get your answers in. Blew it again. Hold on. How many have you gotten right?
Most people got that one wrong. Yeah.
Jason is on fire. I'm guessing Jason's 3 for 3. I don't know, how many questions do we have? I think 5 or 6. So it's 6. So we got a lot actually. That's crosshair. I think we have 5 questions. Hold on. Oh, this one I know. Oh, they mix it up, by the way. It's not always the same color. I met a few of the Guru Cool people yesterday. I did a live show in Santa Monica, and they were there. I have not met any Star Wars characters in person, though, but I meet people that work for security vendors.
It does sound like a Star Wars name.
Yeah. Well, that's how it works. This is flipping a coin half the time, though. Look at it. It's like, look, it's almost split each time. But luckily, I got lucky on that one. I got that right. Jason, I'm guessing is batting 1,000 right now.
It must be a Star Wars.
I'm moving up. Oaked. It's Cax. God, that could be anything.
Like you said, tossing the coin.
Yeah, it could. This proves that it could be anything because the answers are pretty split each time. But Jason, I think he's batting 1,000 here. I think. I'm in 9th place. Look at that. It zeros, ones in a. See, this could be anything. I'm not doing well. Look at it. Completely split. This proves to us this is impossible.
It's like 3 in a way, 3 in a row. It was a 50-50 land. So Jason's just crushing it.
I know Jason's completely crushing it. It's going to upset me if Jason's been cheating on the game. You know, they do have, this is our last one. 0. God, that could totally be a Star Wars character. I know there is a guy whose full-time job is to know, I blew that one too, to know the lexicon of all the characters and like maintain the encyclopedia of the Star Wars universe.
Maybe it's Jason.
All right. 3rd is Blizz. 5 out of 8. Amon got 6. Good job, Amon. 7 out of 8 Jason got. That is impressive, Jason. All right, Jason, email me at david@csoseries.com. If you don't already have a jacket, if you do, just let me know. Assuming also you live in the United States. Congratulations on that. How many did you get? I don't know how many I got right. I think I got 2 right out of 8.
That's about right.
Not good at that game at all. All right, let's get back to our questions. We have, how much? We got 12 minutes. All right, a few things I just want to remind everybody about. Join, here I'm going to throw this call to action back up on stage. I'm going to just put it at the bottom of the screen. Join us for our event that's going to happen a week from today, Hacking Security Theater. I want you to all come with your security theater stories. My favorite is the metal scanner that I watch people walk completely around and go through. I've seen that a few times. That I don't know what the heck's going on. I've seen that happen a bunch of times. But go ahead and register for it next week. Would love to hear your stories of security theater. I'm sure we will get a lot of very amusing stories. Remember, when you click the register button, it will not take you out of this at all whatsoever. By the way, that character Zero that we saw at or Zyro, whatever it is, if that was a security vendor, I would love to see a demo. Wouldn't you,
Yeah.
Joel?
Yeah.
Going?
Yeah.
It's a good name
That's
for
a
a
legit
security
name.
vendor.
No, it's yeah, totally good name. All right, let's get to a few questions. 12 minutes. Everyone, 10 minutes left, and we'll get a few more questions. Actually, you know what? Let me just I'll get one or two more, and then I'll have a question, like a last question for both of you. Uh, okay, I'm sure this comes up every single time. Great question here. Does the cost of an upgrade tend to exceed the cost of trying to maintain the legacy system? I am sure you do, like every single time you're doing an ROI on this. Yes, Sean and Joel.
I wouldn't use the term every single time. I would say most times. Yeah. I mean, in some instances, it could be more than just cost. It could be reliability. It could be a number of factors that go in there.
Right, and
You got to
it
hand it to
all
some of the,
comes
what's
into
that?
play. Yeah.
Got to hand it to some of these OT vendors, the big ones, Siemens and so Honeywell, so forth. I mean, this equipment lasts. Like they build some really good stuff, and I'm sure we've got some people out here that have stories where it failed, but they build really good stuff. So a lot of times, yeah, the ROA can be challenging because you may have another 10, 15, 20 years of expected life off that equipment. And so it's just a hard case sometimes.
Yeah, and I feel like there's also it's hard to quantify too, right? It's like cost in terms of like money, resources, like finding the time. There's all sorts of other. You talked about reliability, cyber risk. Like there's a lot of like other things that are a little harder to quantify. But I still probably, to your point, even if you figure out a way to pull all those extra things together, the cost of upgrades probably still higher.
By the
Yeah.
way, Andrew Aiken nailed it. Zyro Trust. Look at
Love
that.
it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Like, if someone doesn't start that company, I don't know what this is and then just get the license for that character for your
Yeah.
logo or for a stuffed animal or something. I mean, that's a slam dunk in my mind. That's definitely going to succeed. I love it. Uh, uh, oh yeah, here another good one from Murad. Here we go. Here, hold it. Oh no, that one he answered. I'm sorry. Holy. By the way, that last question was James Sparenberg. All right. I don't know if there's examples here, but the question that came in from our person before, the woman who I'm sorry, I forgot your name already. It still says SAH. Please again, type it in again. As AI will find its way into critical infrastructure, maybe you've seen it already. If you have, please let us know. What learnings from legacy platforms would you apply to how it is integrated, such as knowing the problem signals and orderly shutdown of systems? Like, where do we see things already, Joel?
Yeah, so I think a lesson that we've learned, and actually a lesson we've learned with AI now that's probably applicable is maybe treat it less like a technology introduction and more like a workforce or worker introduction, right? Like treat it a little bit more like you would a coworker or someone you're hiring. And if you think about all the different sort of protections and training and fail safes we put around sort of training workers on front lines or some of our skilled workers like clinicians and stuff like that, the sort of guardrails and enablement and all the pieces there, training those human workers, I think those lessons are transferable to AI as you pull into critical infrastructure, much less than what did I learn when implementing a SCADA system that I can now do when I put AI on top of that SCADA system. It's because I think it's a little bit of a fundamental sort of like paradigm shift. It's like AI is, particularly with its non-deterministic behavior, you're going to have to deal with it differently than like traditional technology.
Anything to add to that, Sean?
No, it was really good. I would, speaking, specifically my industry, I think one of our saving graces here is going to be painful as it can be for me to say, but I think it's going to be regulation, which is there are some guardrails that stop us from doing some of these things. Because my first thought was I was trying to like process this question would be kind of crawl, walk, run, and crawl, especially for these things, crawl really a long time. And I think the regulations here do us some favors because they are very risk averse, and I think we'll force that. And our businesses are very good at complying to regulations, so I think that kind of helps us a bit. If I think back to IT, my fear there is like people trying to it's the Wild West, people trying to integrate every piece of AI they can because it's so cool, and I just would not want that around my critical systems. And I think those regulations will do us good.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
great.
excellent. All right. Um, I need to do something to quickly wrap this up. By the way, everyone stick around. In 5 minutes, we're going to be doing our meetup portion. So please stick around for that. Just a couple of quick things to close this out, and then I will have final questions for you. And possible, whoops, what just happened there? There we go. Huge thanks to our sponsor. That'd be your company, Joel, Imprivata, for sponsoring today's episode. All right, coming up on cybersecurity headlines we can review. By the way, we're doing a lot of sort of changing to cybersecurity headlines we can review. It's more of a group discussion. I'll actually kind of be in the background there. We have Jack Kufal, CISO of Michigan Medicine, and also Nick Espinoza, host of the Deep Dive Radio Hour. That's going to be on cybersecurity headlines. That is on our YouTube channel. So if you go to go to youtube.com/CISO series, or just go to CISOseries.com, click the YouTube, or go to our events page, click the link there. Any of those ways, you will find it. Stick around for our meetup. The breakout rooms will just stay where you are. What you'll see is we'll end the show. You'll see like a 10-second countdown, and you'll be put into breakout rooms. You can move in and out of rooms. Do not be shy about moving in and out of rooms. And then lastly, if you would like to sponsor the Super Cyber Friday, just email us at info@cisoseries.com. We have availabilities in our next month. That would be October. All right. So the question I always like to close with is, what did I not ask, Joel, that we should have been discussing? I'm sure that we can talk about this endlessly, but what is a critical question I did not ask, Joel?
Oh, that's great. One of the things that came up that I think is critical that we probably should have or could spend more time on is the role of people, right? The role of people in critical
Good point.
infrastructure, right? Like even as we advance technology, and even as we advance like with AI, and as these industries change, it's like that continues to be the sort of most crucial point in making sure it's secure and it's operating, it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Is sort of that sort of what do we do about people in critical infrastructure? How do we keep them safe? How do we enable them to do their job? And that really will sort of makes it home. So I think that people element, even though we talk about technology and infrastructure, like people is still the core of it.
All right. Well, excellent. Sean, I'm going to ask you the same question. What question did I not ask today that we should have been talking about?
That's a tough one, man. I had a head start over Joel, so I was thinking about it. But I guess maybe one we could have talked about was, as you're approaching my role specifically, so the CISO, you kind of it's some big shoes to fill, especially with critical infrastructure. So I think talking about the risks that you take on as a CISO, and how you navigate that, and things you should be looking for in those types of roles, and building how you build a solid network so you can lean on your peers in that industry, and how we do that. So, and there is a great network. We do network a lot, but I think that would be a good topic to discuss.
All right. Well, we'll have to have the discussion again soon enough. All right. Let's wrap this sucker up. I want a huge thanks to you, Joel. By the way, Burleson, is that how I pronounce the last name?
Yeah, Burleson Davis. Yeah.
Joel Burleson Davis and Sean Marion, who are both with us. They're going to be around in our meetup after this. I want to thank our producers, Josh, who's working there, Rich, also Andrew and Chris, all doing a kick-ass job. If any of you live in Houston, the entire team will be there for WhoSecCon, and we hope to see you there. We are going to have meetups in Houston. We're going to have meetups in Boston in October, and also in New York City in October as well. If you're in any of those cities, we would love to see you there. All right, Josh, take us out. Everyone stay